You're watching WTV 13, and now a special late edition of Newscenter 13.
Good evening. Thanks for staying up late with us. Tonight, a Jasper County talk site has residents concerned.
They're concerned for their health and their wallets. It's a dilemma facing the town of Kellogg, and tonight residents crowded into City Hall to get some answers. The EPA explained to the crowd what it will take to excavate the toxic waste and ship it away. The price tag, $221,000. The town can't afford it. Tonight, residents spoke out saying there has to be another way.
I'd like to know how this thing all breaks out. You know, it just doesn't, that's a hell of a lot of money, and this community's taken in the shorts for 10 years here.
I think we're biting off more than we can chew now right here in this community. And the people are taxed now to pieces.
The toxic waste was created by Kellogg's largest employer, Midwest Manufacturing. It says it can't afford the cleanup either. The waste poses a threat to the underground water supply. The EPA intends to take action before the end of this year.
A controversial Des Moines gynecologist says he will appeal the revocation of his license. Dr. Polito Fong lost his license for at least a year on charges of sexual misconduct. 2 patients testified they were touched improperly during exams in separate incidents 11 years apart. The defense says the evidence can't support the charges and they'll take the case to district court. Fong's attorney, Bill Cutmas, says even with an eventual victory, he doesn't know if Fong's medical reputation can be saved.
A mandatory curfew for all young people in Des Moines. That's one idea being looked at by a special task force trying to put an end to violence in the downtown area. Night team reporter Dane Placco learned of the idea earlier today. He is with us now with the Live Eye downtown. Dane?
John, it's kind of quiet tonight here at the corner of 9th and Grand downtown, but the problem isn't on weeknights. It's mostly on weekends. In fact, any weekend you'd probably see hundreds of teenagers in this area, some of them creating trouble, some even creating violence. And that's why the idea of the mandatory curfew is being kicked around. It's an idea that is already stirring controversy.
What do you have there? Let me see it.
This scene is repeated hundreds of times each weekend in downtown Des Moines as police struggle to control hundreds, sometimes thousands of teenagers. Now a member of the city task force looking into the problem is talking about the possibility of instituting a curfew to get the kids off the streets.
The idea of a curfew to keep the numbers of kids down seemed like at least is worth looking at.
Pierce says Des Moines should study the curfew instituted in Minneapolis, which requires all teenagers between 15 and 17 to be off the streets between midnight and 4, and sets the curfew for kids under 15 at 10 p.m., 11 o'clock on weekends. Downtown merchants we talked to say they welcome the idea.
I think it's an excellent idea. As a business owner and being downtown, I know it's affected our businesses in the evening.
I think it'd be a very wise choice. I work in the downtown area, and I feel that it'd do a lot of good because I see a lot of the problems that take place downtown.
But Police Chief Bill Mulder is not a fan of the curfew idea, saying it probably wouldn't stand up in court.
How about 4 or 5 kids that are walking home from a basketball game, or kids that work for the Register that get off or are on their way to work to throw papers early in the morning? How do you discriminate between those and those that are problematic?
But supporters argue the curfew would be used selectively.
If the city council decided to do it, there are models that have been tested that they could use to avoid constitutional problems.
Now the Downtown Violence Task Force will meet again and tackle the issue again next week. And it cannot become law, however, until it goes to the city council. That's probably still at least a couple months away, John.
Okay, still just very much a proposal.
Right.
Thank you. Dane Placco reporting live for us. Kelly?
Iowa's prisons and jails are overcrowded, and the state is trying to do something about it. For nearly 5 months, some prisoners have been released to their homes, where they are being monitored electronically. Tonight, we tell you how it's working. To show you that, I let the state put me under house arrest. First, the electronic bracelet with a unique chip inside that allows the state to check on my whereabouts. With the help of this computer, the state keeps tabs on the prisoner 24 hours a day. Instead of putting me behind bars, I went back to work. But when the computer dials my desk number, I have 10 seconds to respond and use my bracelet verifier.
At the set of tone, please confirm receipt of this message by stating your name, the time, and then insert your wristlet.
Kelly Eckerman, 9:51. But what happens when I ignore the phone? Or try to remove the bracelet. The computer knows. It activates my surveillance officer's beeper, and I'm in trouble.
Okay, Kelly's not answering the phone. We're going to have to go get her, okay?
25 prisoners have used the system already, and only one has tried to get away.
Keeps a client at home. They never know when it's going to call them. We've had one client cut it off, and he's been sent back to prison.
But is this the answer to prison overcrowding?
We happen to be the only jurisdiction in Iowa that is now using electronic monitoring, but it is being used in many other jurisdictions across the country. And yes, it is seen as a partial solution to prison overcrowding.
Now, this is a cheaper way for the state to house prisoners, and it allows the prisoners to hold a job. The electronic parole system is designed for those convicted of nonviolent crimes.
Concerns from the White House tonight that Speaker Jim Wright is giving away secrets. The Speaker is accusing the CIA of inciting protests in Nicaragua.